If you've been trying to build your business and you've been stuck, you've gone months with seeing very little progress and you're starting to lose motivation, I guarantee you this is going to be the most valuable video that you ever watch and could potentially set you on the trajectory to completely transforming your life in 2020-2024. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but promise me, if you stick with me to the end of this video, you'll see why. Not too long ago, an individual who is in RSC reached out to me and he said, "Hey Dylan, can you help me create a 90-day plan?" And I did. I decided to jump on a call with him and we laid out exactly everything that he needed to do in order to get to at least $10,000 a month over a 90-day period. And then 90 days went by and he made little to no progress. He didn't see any growth and he was still struggling with his SMMA, but he came to me saying like, "Hey Dylan, like I need another 90-day plan. I'm more motivated this time." And I'm like, "Why did the last 90-day plan not work?" And he said, "Oh, well, I didn't have a vision. Right now I have a vision because I went downtown and I saw all these rich people. I saw these people with fancy cars and fancy boats and like, I want to be like them. I want to be able to provide for my family. So now I know what I want." And I'm like, well, as cliche as it sounds, if you wanted to succeed as bad as you wanted to breathe, you would, and you wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't be having this conversation if you actually wanted it that bad. So what is the deep down reasoning as to why you aren't putting in the work? And he didn't know. I ended up telling him a story about my own personal life. And basically, as many of you guys know my story, after I started my first agency and scaled it up to working with over 200 clients, I was top down entrepreneur of the year in my city. My parents were proud. Driving a nice fancy BMW and all that fancy shiny stuff that looks good on social media, but on the inside my life was miserable. And the reason my life was miserable is because even though I had all these clients, I felt worthless because my clients were cheap and they were nagging at me, and every single time I opened up my phone, I had to delete the email app off my phone because it was just an anxiety center, right? Because all it was complaints and complaints and complaints, not because what we were doing was bad, but because we were trying to help people that weren't worth helping. And so I ended up deciding to shut down that agency. And after walking away from a huge, pretty big and successful agency for 19, 20 years old, I was so crippled to try and tell my dad that, right? It took me so long to convince my parents that I didn't need to go to school. It took me so long to convince them that I could go down this business path and I could succeed and I was capable. And then I shut down my business. And I was so worried about having to go and confront my parents that fear of confronting them crippled me from taking action. It crippled me. It slowed me down. What I ended up doing is I ended up having a conversation with my dad, and he told me, and I said to him, "Hey Dad, so I've shut down Wilson Media." And he was shocked. He's like, "Why'd you do that?" Like all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, and I told him the whole story. I told him everything that happened. He's like, "Okay." And like, I was like, "Well, like, what do you think?" And he said to me something that completely changed the trajectory of that following year. He said to me, he's like, "Hey Dylan, I don't really care how much money you make right now. I don't care if you make 10K a month, 100K a month, or you're not making any money. The only thing I care about is, do you wake up every single day and do you get better? Do you wake up every single day and you're developing personally, professionally, in your relationships? Like, are you getting better every single day? Are you progressing, right? Because I understand as an entrepreneur myself, and this is my dad speaking, that growing as an entrepreneur isn't just growing in the bank account. It's not just the bank account growing, right? There's so many different things that go into growing as an entrepreneur. And he said, as long as you are growing as a person, you're good. Now, you could be making 20K a month, but if you're lying in bed all day, jerking off, being a fucker, I'm gonna have a serious problem, right? So I'm not worried that you're not making any money right now, right? I understand, I believe in you, and as long as you keep on this path and keep pushing and keep grinding and keep doing all the work that you did to build your first company, we're good. When I had that conversation with him, it completely took all the weight off of my shoulders. And I was like, oh my God, all this crippling fear that I had of what he was going to think of me was now gone. And in the next 4 weeks is when I launched Outwork Media. And I did just under 25K in 4 weeks, right? And if I didn't have that conversation with my dad, I would have let that fear get to me, and I would have had that power would have been held over me, and I wouldn't have been able to grow and see the success that I did. And maybe you wouldn't even be seeing me and hearing this, watching this YouTube video today if it wasn't for that one conversation. So I told that story to this individual in RSC, and he realized that he was struggling with the exact same thing. He realized that it was actually his parents as well. He was afraid of failing in front of his parents, so he didn't want to take the action, because if you don't take the action, you can't fail, right? And I said, well, listen, it's like, you don't learn based on what you know, like you learn based on the mistakes that you make. Like that's how you get better, right? The more mistakes that you make, let's say in a hypothetical situation, you fail 10 times every single day for a year. You failed 3,650 times in that year. we're going to learn 3,650 lessons. And if you have 3,650 business lessons in your brain, you're going to be an elite level entrepreneur making a lot of money. I had that conversation with him and he realized it was in fact to his parents. Now, you watching this video, it might not be your parents, right? It might be your spouse. It might be your friends at school. It might be your uncle. It might be your aunt, right? But for him, it was his parents as well too. And so his to-do list, his homework, his criteria was not to come up with the next 90-day plan, because the 90-day plan's on my fucking YouTube, guys. Like, if you're struggling, I have more than enough videos giving a step-by-step, and if you're in RSC, you show up to the calls, like, there's absolutely no reason as to why you wouldn't succeed, right? The information is there. You have the roadmaps in front of you. You have the playbooks. You have the step-by-step processes to follow in order to get to where you want to be. It's something up here that is stopping you from getting there, and this is how you solve that. Okay. And so when he had that conversation with his parents, he realized that his parents were like, Josh, like, what do you do? Like, what are you tripping over? And then he felt stupid because he realized that he was tripping over nothing. And since then, he's had all this weight lift off his shoulders, and all this is a very recent conversation. So I can't, boast about how he's gone on to make $10,000 a month. He's made more progress in this past week than I've seen the guy make in the last 3 months. And so I had to jump on here. I had to share this lesson with you guys because I know a lot of you guys are feeling stuck. And so what you guys need to do is you need to have that honest conversation with yourself and figure out who it is in your life, who that person is that you were afraid of failing in front of, because that person has power over you. That person is the reason you are not succeeding. That person is the reason you're not taking action. And you have two choices. You either succumb to living to this person's power. You either, be obedient. You succumb to this person's authority over you, or you take matters into your own hands and you go on and actually take the actions, and you don't give a shit about what other people think. Because if you do that, that is what you actually need to do in order to get to where you want to be. 2 things I want to wrap this video up with. If you want to jump on calls with me every single week, you want me to coach you on everything you need to do to start and scale your agency, you want to get courses that I've made for free, but you don't want to pay me because that would be unfair to you, you can click the link below and join the RSC free Discord community where we have all of that and more. And now, if you want one-on-one help from a 6-figure SMMA owner to actually come inside your business and help implement on that knowledge, and you also don't want to pay for it because that would also be unfair, you can click the link below and check out the First Client Challenge, which is the exact same thing. And the reason why I do this is because I partner with agency owners that are doing over $10,000 a month, and I want to get as many of you guys up to $10,000 a month based on my system, so you guys trust me then to come and potentially work a partnership deal then. Alrighty, with that, I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I hope to see you guys in the comment section on the next video as well, because that one's going to be a big one.